Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of CarX Drift Racing 2 with BrogAutohaus. Today's episode is all about the Ice Ranger. We're going to do a full tune breakdown on that, and I'm also going to include all my control settings. I haven't done this in a while, so if you're here for just the controls and what settings I use on them, that's going to be the last 3 minutes of the video. Until then, we're going to be going through some tuning and talking about the Ice Ranger today. So go ahead and jump ahead if you'd like to do that. Don't forget to like the video for future content and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it as always, and it's much appreciated, as cliche as it is as a YouTuber to say that. So as you can see here, I'm in the Ice Ranger. It's the blue vehicle that I'm driving behind the Caravan G6, which is another level 1 tier 1 wagon that's in the game. But the Ice Ranger is really cool. I unlocked it a little while ago. I think it was through an event actually, and it's got a little rotary engine, a little turbo rotary, and it sounds cool, looks cool. It doesn't have a lot of power, but I did just unlock the 2-liter i4, which is like an SR20. So I'm going to probably try that as well, but I wanted to keep the stock motor for the tuning reasons for today's video. I do have the CVW body kit on mine. The R&T got released more recently, and I do like the R&T kit, so I may upgrade to that eventually. It's kind of more of like a rally look, but really cool setup nonetheless. I just liked how the CVW looked best with its fender flares and everything like that. So we'll jump into the tuning here and show you guys kind of what this thing's about. It produces just about 500 horsepower on the stock motor. Like I said, I do have that engine swap there, as you can see, and I'm going to try that at some point as well. So if you guys have the 2-liter i4 turbo engine swap unlocked as well, maybe I will do a tuning video on that eventually. But as you can see here, my spring size is at 15.5 centimeters. Stiffness is very low in the front end, but a very stiff sway bar. So that'll help kind of corner balance everything. No toe, -4 camber, full caster, and 69% Ackerman angle. But if you find that when you put this tune on your car and you're spinning out too much, you could lower that caster and it'll give you a little bit more front grip, more front control, so that when you input steering, things will happen a lot faster with a lower Ackerman level in the front. When it comes to the rear, all the bumps and everything are pretty well standard. I don't think I messed with those. -1 camber, no toe at all. Almost no sway bar in the rear to allow for some more grip and kind of let the body roll a little bit on the back to kind of dig into the corners. I am running 18 245 30s on the front and rear with a street setup tire. Again, this is a low horsepower car. It's only got 459 horsepower. So you can't really run like a super grippy setup. The tuning on the gearing is important as well. So I'm at a 0.4 on the diff, a 3.7 overall gear ratio, and then I did go down and change so that 4th gear was 115 and 5th gear was 1.0. I always suggest to try to get that 1.0 final gear in your 5th or 6th gear depending on the car, and then tune the overall gear ratio according to that, because that's kind of the most realistic way to go about tuning your transmission as far as everything I'm aware of, and that 1-to-1 ratio is really important to have. No axis widths on either, center of mass all the way down, mass all the way down as well. So that's going to do it for this tune. We're going to hop out and do a little bit of driving for about a minute here, and then after that we're going to jump into the controls and talk about the controls that I use, why I use them. We'll look at some graphics stuff as well, because some people have said that the game doesn't perform very well on their phones. I don't have like a brand new iPhone, but I do play this on my iPhone obviously, and it works really smooth with my game, with my settings that I have. So I'm going to show you guys all those controls. As you can see with this tune, we actually get a tiny bit of 3-wheel motion on the Ice Ranger. I think that's because of that loose rear end setup with the really stiff front end. It's obviously not, wheeling out 3-wheel motion, but that front right is lifting off over, big corners and stuff, and the front left does the same thing, obviously, when you transition. So nonetheless, this thing, it can run a smooth line. It's pretty fast. But I think until I get an engine swap in there, it's not really going to be all that competitive as far as competition goes. But I believe this car does really well on the winter map, the Castle Road, I believe it's called. With the winter tires, it performs really well. It gets some good grip. I think the weight in general of the car is kind of more meant for that, hence the name Ice Ranger, I think. But correct me if I'm wrong down in the description below. And I did want to say a quick note before we get into the control settings here. If you guys want to submit clips for the top 5 drift series, there will be an email in the description below, BrogAutohaus@gmail.com. You can send your submissions there. I do now post a top 5 drifts every Friday, so get your submissions in before then, and I will get a video posted. If you missed Friday or want to send me videos after that, just keep sending them. If they come in on Saturday or Sunday, they'll be qualified for the next week's Friday release. So I'm looking forward to doing some more of those. I've had a lot of fun seeing the clips you guys send in, and they can be from any game that involves drifting. It doesn't have to be CarX, it could be Forza, it could be Gran Turismo, it could be Assetto Corsa. Literally whatever you guys want, whatever you drift on, I want to see it. So thank you for all those submissions. So here's the settings kind of setup that I have. You'll click the little blue circle in the top right that shows the settings. You can see my steering angle, I have at 900. I do have the speedometer in kilometers an hour, although I am from the USA, so we usually use miles per hour. All the achievement things go by kilometers an hour, so it was much easier. I turned off the horizon viewing angle. I was told that was something that slows down phones and doesn't let it kind of work properly, or it overloads kind of your graphics. And then the steering assistant I have on. Now that's default for the steering controls that I use, which is the arrows, and I'll show you that in just a second, but I have not tried it with steering assistant off. These are the controls I've been using for a very long time. So as you can see, arrow controls, I have the sensitivity set kind of medium low, and then linearity all the way up. I'm using a sequential transmission. I suggest you guys use sequential, not manual, because in manual you have to use the clutch. Sequential, you can just click a gear, it'll pop right in. And then I'm in the version 3 assistant with a sensitive brake on the very bottom, but no sensitive throttle. I like the throttle to be able to go full throttle every time I touch it. But when I'm foot braking with my brake, I want to be able to maybe just give a little bit of foot brake instead of all of it. As you can see, I typically run my pedal opacity really low. That's so that I can see through the buttons to the cars and everything that's happening on the track, because I already know where the buttons are, and I make them pretty large because I do have larger fingers, and I want to be able to not have to think about where I'm putting my hand to control the car in certain ways. So I keep my handbrake on the right, so if I need to take a quick handbrake, I just take my hand off throttle, handbrake, and then back on throttle. And then on the left side, I have my steering and shifting, and I do have my clutch down here in the middle left as well. And that is just so that I can clutch kick if I really get in a sticky situation and I need to kick the clutch real quick. That's why it's there. I don't use it to shift every single time. Adaptive quality I do have on. Motion blur is off. That's another one that people have been telling me is going to help with your quality of your game. Turn that off. I have my smoke intensity at high and opacity pretty high as well, because I just like having that realistic look of the actual tire smoke. And then you can see my frames per second and everything down there. My sound is set low, but that's just for my editing purposes. But anyways, that's going to do it for today's video, guys. I really appreciate y'all being here watching, and don't forget to subscribe. We will see you next time.